Are you ready? I can edit all this fucking out, which is good. But you guys ready to talk about Carl and the exchange and everything? You ready to go?
I'm ready as I'm going to be.
All right.
This is Jeannie at the Exchange in Spanaway, Washington, and you're listening to Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars.
Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars, the podcast that blends the modern scooter lifestyle with a twist of the paranormal over a cool cocktail.
Always over a cool cocktail. Bar reviews, scooter talk, ghost stories. We are an extremely independent podcast that follows a group of modern Vespa riders in search of classic pubs, dive bars, and haunted taverns. And end of story. No disclaimer.
All right. So, as we grow up and age out.
Shouldn't that be grow out and age up?
No, I've lost some weight. As we grow up and age out, I want you to remember that we want to do it as slowly as possible. It's weird for us, but I think joy can be found atop a vinyl Vespa seat, knocking around in the afternoon, visiting friends and bars and having great conversation, because all you have is the now.
Well, you live in the now.
I'm living in the now, man. Yeah. I'm an Eckhart Tolle fan.
I'll drink to that.
All right. Well, let's give you a moment. So welcome to episode 43, a sunny Sunday ride to Magoo's.
Well, that's almost a sentence.
Yeah, it's a full
quite
sentence.
A title.
So this is a local favorite Irish pub. Though I don't feel Irish when I walk in there. Though I found out through my DNA that I am 51% Irish.
Well, you're about the height of an Irish.
Yeah.
And your brother's Chinese.
You little leprechaun.
And the length. And
hello, Stubby.
This place is haunted, and the owner, Carl Chalker, is going to tell us about it a little bit later. We also have scooter news, spooky news, and fun facts.
Big fan of the fun facts.
Oh, boy.
So what's going on, guys? What's happening?
Just living the COVID life once again.
I'm trying to be careful.
Yeah.
We just finished a huge ride in eastern Washington, northeast Oregon, and western Idaho. That was fun. And we're going to.
Is there a western Idaho?
Well, I don't know. What does that mean?
Nubbing into Idaho.
It was a tri-state ride, right?
It was a tri-state ride, and we were in the corners of all three states, cruising around. It was a blast, and we're going to follow up with a podcast on that in just a day or two, right?
Looking forward to it.
Yeah,
so
while our
come out
memory
in a
is
month
fresh.
and a half.
Yeah. Well, we waited a month this time because I got my feelings hurt.
What happened?
I don't know. We got
for the audience's sake. Can we just add
the person's sake?
Yeah, the fact that he begged for reviews for the last 3 years or however long we've been doing this. You finally get one
He was a troll. He was a troll.
Semi-critical review, and you just pout.
I know it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this guy's done. His shoulders have slumped 3 inches.
I know. I almost quit. I just
like a
said,
dick
that's it. We did 42 podcasts. This is number 43. But
you slumped like a 70-year-old dick off of Viagra.
He hurt my feelings.
Just wilted.
He took a personal attack, and I don't like that.
Well,
good thing you're living in the now.
Bounce back. You're okay.
Now, on top of that, Bobby Chong was going to join us remotely from Whidbey Island. It was going to be a big technical
extravaganza.
Yeah, right. And guess what happened? He forgot. He's out on a scooter. He go, oh shoot! I'm on a scooter. I can pull over at the side of the road, and I can call in. I said, well, you want to sit on the side of the road on your scooter for 2 hours? And he goes, okay, I'll talk to you later. So thank you, Bobby Chong. Lizard.
Yo.
You took us for a boat ride
recently. Did. Yeah, that was fun.
It was great fun.
Yeah. I've been spending a lot of time on the boat lately. I mean, it's such a short window of time here in our summers that you got to take advantage of when you can. As a matter of fact, as soon as we finish this shit show, I'm gonna rush home and get on the boat with some of my really good friends and neighbors. And we're going over
You're
to
taking
neighbors.
neighbors? I thought it was a family thing.
No, it was the neighbors.
Oh, your other friends.
The neighbor's family.
Neighbors and us, yeah, it's kind of a joint thing.
Okay, whatever.
I hope your feelings aren't hurt again.
Fine, I'm fine. Just don't give us a review unless it's a good one when you're on there. Scout, what's happening with you?
Oh, nothing. Same old, same old.
No, you've been doing some stuff. And what are you doing later today? You got something going on. You have to be out of here.
Yeah, I got a little a date with a happy hour find that some of my other good friends had also.
Okay, so Beth and I will be fine. Yeah, we'll do that.
Well, you could do some yard work.
Okay, that would be fun. You going to your mom's?
That's me, yeah. Trimming her bush. Says,
Nice. That's so uncomfortable on every level. I have no idea. So I've been intermittent fasting.
how's that going?
Good.
Well, I can see you're shredding away.
I am thin. I'm thin as a rail.
Almost gaunt.
I'm looking forward to our upcoming couple scoot.
In September.
It is in September,
Yeah.
but we are going for our wives are going to pull their scooters out of the mothballs.
Yep.
Get them going, and we're going for an overnight to Whidbey Island.
So Molly and Beth are riding
They're going to ride.
in the car together.
Molly's going to ride on your scooter, front seat facing backwards,
That'll be a 2-minute trip.
like every Saturday night.
Hey, can I get back to your fasting? I've got a question.
Okay.
How many hours do you fast? Because if it's 3 hours, it's not much of a fast.
No, I'm doing 16 and 8, but I'm really kind of trying to push to the 17-7.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
17 hours of nothing and 7 hours of...
Eating every fucking thing in front of me.
Have you tried 17 hours of not drinking and drinking for only...
What are you, nuts? I'm still fasting, but I'm having a cocktail right now.
You got to stay hydrated.
Yeah, it's great. I love that. So, it's working out. We did our big ride. The weather's been great. Business is unbelievable. We've sold out of almost every boat we have in stock, and now people are going, can we take like time off? We don't have any
really?
boats to sell. And I'm like, that never even occurred to me. Why don't you go out and find something we can buy? Why don't you go out and find something we can sell? Oh, that would mean I have to reach out.
You sound like such a boss.
I'm trying to be caring and kind. That's my new thing.
Huh.
Well,
Yeah.
you got a new thing like I read a book. Just every couple minutes you flip a page. Something new.
Something new. Well, the thing
We'll
is,
call you the book.
remember what I said, as you age, you want to make sure you do it as slowly as possible. I'm trying to learn new things, be a new person, grow in every aspect, except my weight. I'm, like I said, thin as a rail. So,
Yes, you are.
Oh, my God. So I mentioned that bad review kind of did take me down. I would like to say, please don't review us. Please don't say mean things. I'm too sensitive.
Yeah, but I actually would like some more honest feedback, as I call it, and to see your reaction and to listen to you self-loathing and pity.
Well, I do that anyway.
It exposes everything.
The way I see it is any reaction, any interaction is good.
No, it is.
Positive or
It
negative. We get so much positive that little negative is not going to bring us down.
All right. But he was mean. So, we added this new feature, the fun facts
Love
deal.
this portion.
I don't know. I haven't got much feedback on it, except from you guys.
You can't handle the feedback. That's why.
No, and thank you for that. Yeah, so this is from UberFacts, and we have to give them credit because they do the research. We just read them. We'll just take turns, but I'll start out with the first one because it's close to home for me. On average, you will spend 92 days sitting on the toilet in your lifetime.
Wow.
I think it sounds a little short. It seems like it would be
Right.
longer. But
Right, I was just doing the math in my head or trying to, and that doesn't sound like a very long time.
No, because I like to read and do research, get away from my family, do all that stuff in there. I may not be going to the
more
bathroom.
people than you think are quick shitters.
Well, maybe they're not just doing that. Sometimes you look, you do other things in there. You make phone calls, you do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you read your phone.
Right.
Yeah,
you work.
exactly.
I reply to emails, pretty much fun. Yeah. Okay. I just think 92 days, it should be like 192 days.
Well, if you live long enough, it might be.
I'm planning to live forever.
I'd go, if I were you, I'd go more toward the 92 days goal.
Okay, Lizard, let's go to the next bullet point here.
So 93% of people to ever exist on Earth are dead.
Yeah.
That means 7% are
Alive,
not dead.
Right?
About 50% of them died from malaria.
Yeah.
Wow.
50% of the people on Earth since the beginning of time died from malaria.
Wow.
Stagnant water.
Well, I just think in the age of COVID, this is kind of an appropriate thing to talk about. It's you got a much higher chance of dying from malaria.
You're just calling this if you're in Africa. We're talking America.
Well, no, this wasn't centered toward
but the last 200
the dark
years
continent.
It says 93% of people to ever exist on Earth, not just on Africa.
Right,
the dark continent.
But we've been in existence for millions of years.
Right. So they did their research. The thing is, this is one sentence with tons of research.
And it's all true.
Okay, Mark, here you go.
Well, did you know a cockroach can live for weeks without its head before it starves to death? Sounds like a marriage.
I don't even know About 1 in every 18 people have a third nipple.
How many?
Seems a pretty, the toilet thing seems too low and this seems too high. I don't know anybody with a third nipple, but let's all compare right now. I'm serious.
Wait, you just like to lift your shirt.
Here we go.
Here we go.
I do not have a third nipple.
Oh, no dose. No, that's it.
Do they count the belly button as well?
No. If it's an Audi, maybe.
It's sensitive.
I've got a picture of you with your shirt up. In our Inland Empire trip.
Most everybody has a picture of me with my shirt up. Okay, Lizard.
So they caught one of those murder wasps recently.
Yeah, but you missed the bullet.
What about when your eyes are open?
Oh, well, we're going to go back to that. We're going to do the murder wasp. So Albert Einstein, remember who he was?
Yes, smart guy.
I've heard
notoriously said that if that bee disappeared off the face of the earth, man would only have about 4 years to live. Why is that?
The killer wasp?
If bees disappeared.
If bees, not that bee.
In general, what bees do is pollinate. They do all kinds of things.
You got to look at the punctuation in your script.
Thanks for doing your research before the podcast.
Here's a disclaimer. The Lizard never took English in school. Okay, I taught myself. I'm self-taught.
And you're reading out of it. You read the wrong bullet.
Okay, so
there's gold in them bar hills.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Mark.
When your eyes move, your eardrums move also.
Yeah, this was really interesting.
However, scientists discovered that eardrums move about 10 milliseconds before eyes do, and they are not sure why.
Okay, think about this. Your eardrums move before you decide to look at something. That is a function of string theory or quantum physics or some connection
and
that you know things before you really know them.
Right. And the theory of God just playing jokes on you?
Yes.
That's why I just
the universe? Yeah.
No, since I read this just a second ago, this is why I now realize why we have ear hair. And by the time you get old enough to have enough ear hair it moves where it could trigger something's happening, you can't hear or see anything. And you're too old to.
What are you going with this?
You can
cut the ear hair. I get it waxed.
So a couple things.
That's a separate podcast.
This exact topic is why we should have had Bobby Chong,
right,
and his hearing aids on our program today.
Absolutely.
But secondly, your ears would go first because you hear something and then you look. Unless you're a deaf person.
That's a good point.
So how does a deaf person?
They look and then they hear.
You've redeemed yourself after that.
I feel better.
All right. As a new Catholic, this one caught my eye. The Bible is the most shoplifted book of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, hotels.
I
guess.
I don't think they put them in hotels anymore, but all time is all time.
Do you remember?
But how about we just recently, or you more specifically, had a recent experience with a Bible?
I did. I was just going to talk about that.
A burnt Bible.
We were at a beautiful restaurant, bar, lounge in Pendleton, Oregon.
We were at a restaurant. You saw beauty.
It's
in the eye of the beholder.
Called?
Or the owner.
It was called Virgil's at...
Continue.
It's on your list over
Cincinnati's.
there.
No, well, we're going to talk about it on the next podcast.
Anyway.
I don't want to talk about where we went on this podcast, but I will say the owner of the place, of the restaurant, bar, lounge, steakhouse, beautiful place, handed us a Bible and said this spontaneously caught a fire in the lounge, and here it is. Here's what happened. And they'd had the place blessed. They'd done a bunch of things. But have a drink there,
pretty
Mike.
strange.
Like Kumiyatis.
Semiotis. I think that's how you say it. And they didn't want to talk about that, so sorry.
Well, you can't say
Okay.
you can't say happiness without penis.
Without saying penis, happiness.
Oh, I get it.
And right now I know you're saying it in your heads.
I'm happy.
Oh, all right. Finally, there's an upside to everything. Everything. You know, if one thing goes bad, you want to think about 10 things going right. Right?
10 to 1?
Right. You want to, I mean, if you get hit with something, you want to.
Is this how you reacted
gotta
with
look at
your
the bright
negative?
side.
You got to look at the
With
bright
your
side. So
negative
here's
review?
one. Rabies has been known to cause men to ejaculate up to 30 times a day uncontrollably.
No wonder
So you
they're
got the
frothing at the
rabies.
mouth.
Right before they die.
You've got the rabies, but, you know.
What was the walrus? The frothy walrus?
Right. Frothy walrus.
That's a different podcast.
Well, I guess it's time to talk about Scooter News. All right, so
What do you have for us this time?
this is from a Ride Apart the blog. The byline was by Janaki Jitchikovit.
No.
Try it again.
No, like
Jitso-vizia.
Jitsoviziot. We'll just call him Janaki today, but he did a nice job. He talked about you cross a Piaggio Beverly with a Vespa Electrica X, and you get the magic rooster. That's what he said. When most people think of scooters, they think of tiny wheels. If you're riding on a reasonably well-maintained paved roads, you might not give them much more of a thought. However, if you're in the rougher terrain, like we were recently, the tiny wheels can be a big impediment.
There you are, thinking about happiness again.
So with that in mind, Moto Guzzi back in 1950 first released the Gelato. This beloved cross between a scooter and a motorcycle had 17-inch wheels, a practical seat height, and a spare wheel and tire mounted up front. Tucked in neatly just behind the forks, it lasted until 1966 and sold over 77,000 units during its 16-year lifespan.
You were just starting to come into your own in 66, weren't you?
I think I had my first boner.
Yeah. You must have had rabies. I think it was 30 times that day.
Well, it was when I was going through that period. So it sounds like the perfect recipe for a modern revamp, he says. That's what industrial designer Samuel Del Oro thought. What better time than the 70th anniversary of this iconic Guzzi? Unsurprisingly, he reimagined a modern Gelato with an electric motor. Having grown up only a few kilometers from Mandello di Lano, he told Va Electrico meant that he grew up fascinated by Moto Guzzi. He developed his love of motorcycling and everything came together.
What did he come up with? What did he come up with?
It's a hybrid. So this is the first hybrid I've seen. It's not just an electric scooter, but the design integrates the Vespa Electrica X motor into the mix. And although he said the full electric Vespa motor could be used instead, a 4-liter gas tank powers the generator that powers the motor, allowing it to have a smaller lithium-ion battery pack on board.
Oh.
So power output will be about 5.36 horsepower with a range of 200 kilometers. Mark, that's just over 124 miles.
I was going to just ask you, what does that mean to me?
Battery pack is a 4-kilowatt unit that charges in 4 hours at 220 volts. That's 220, 221.
Yeah, 220. Yeah.
Chassis is based on the existing Piaggio Beverly and would have a 16-inch front wheel and a 14-inch rear wheel. So it has two different size wheels, as well as disc brakes and all-around ABS.
Looking at the picture you provided here, I actually like the look of it.
It's a good look. It looks similar to your
Looks like
Scarbeo.
Prio.
The modern Gelato is absolutely beautiful and a beautiful homage to the original. From the colorful rooster logo to the luggage rack that can also hold an optional passenger seat in case your cargo is a person and not a top box. The alloy wheels are made to echo the original spoked wheels. So
what's the price tag on something like that?
Well, it's not being built yet. It's a design study, but
what a tease!
It's apparently they're going to. So thanks, Janaki.
So
and a Ride Apart blog. Pretty cool.
Technically, wouldn't a moped be a hybrid? It's motor and pedals.
Yeah, it's a huge human hybrid, I guess, right?
No, it's not a human hybrid.
I mean, human and gas.
I hate it when people come up to us and ask us about our mopeds. We all hear that a lot.
Right.
So I maybe should have kept my mouth shut. But
No, but you could say it's not a moped, it's a hybrid.
There's no pedals, dickhead.
No, I know that part. Talking about, I have a Mobilette, 1957.
Easy. He's turning colors.
All right, that was fun. Now it's time for Spooky News. All right, this is a big deal.
What do we have now?
Well, we've been talking about this since it came out in December. I think it was 2017 when the New York Times released a front page UFO story indicating that the U.S. government has had a secret Pentagon study of the UAPs and UFOs, followed by the release another year later by the Navy of actual UFO footage filmed and recorded officially by a fighter pilot. Fighter pilots, actually, because it was on both coasts. And they released it. That was just recently, but it was leaked earlier than that, and it wasn't official yet. So we've talked about this a couple of times on here. What's amazing is that this disclosure continues as the Pentagon is now reporting on UFO encounters officially. And I guess my question is, why are we not talking everywhere about this world event? I mean, this is huge.
Those of us into shorter versions, what's the task force called? If I don't want to say unidentified aerial phenomenon.
UAP.
Oh, is that what they're doing? The UAP?
I don't know. It's like the WHO or the
Yeah, the WHO is always good.
Exactly. So I guess my question, they have a task force. It's the UAP task force. Now, here's something. Marco Rubio, that's your guy, Lizard, who is the acting chair of the Senate Committee on Intelligence, recently said this: there are mysterious craft of unknown origin flying over U.S. military installations, and that requires further action.
I agree.
Right? I mean, he's a well-known name. Whether you hate him or like him, it's pretty amazing that they said it. CNN just recently did a story on that.
Right, that's the Clinton News Network.
These are the pilots.
When military officials released 3 videos this spring of Navy pilots encountering UFOs in 2004 and 2015, it seemed out of this world.
Well, if there's a thing, it's rotating.
But now the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force is expected to start releasing more information about such encounters, prompting unusual
my point, guys.
questions
This
for
is
some
huge.
elected leaders.
So are we alone?
Because you heard it on CNN?
Florida Senator
No,
Mark
because it's everywhere. It isn't just CNN.
Oh,
That
okay.
was just they did a reasonably good job of opening up that.
Right, okay.
Opening it up.
It sounds like those pilots had rabies.
Hang on.
Why are you tuning me down?
That's 1 an hour, almost. That's one and a quarter.
I will say this, as a non-believer in the whole paranormal thing, I think it's not that far-fetched to realize there's something out there beyond us. And so the fact that the government's actually recognizing that.
No, I think it's bigger news that you actually said that just now.
The fact that the government actually publicly acknowledging it is a step.
I think so. And here's the thing is it really hasn't been all that big, right? I think we are so desensitized by movies and TV that we don't understand what a huge disclosure this is. And
that's my point.
The U.S. government has admitted and released UFO footage, and they have an investigative arm of the government that's been looking at it for a long time. This Bob Lazar, this kind of supports the guy.
Well, and like the video you showed us, that's It was a hell of a video.
No, it's amazing. It's you know what it is? It's fucking Trump diverting the attention. Though he did say about the video, it was a hell of a video.
Wait, that's what I just said. He's stealing my material.
I'm thinking that he's probably looking at this like, if I can't get votes from the Russians, maybe I can get some votes from the Martians.
Well, they're illegal aliens.
The Marshallese Islands are really going to be big this year in the election.
All right. So we'll continue to follow this as we're a huge news source, as every human on the planet should probably do. I agree. I think it's the biggest news ever to come out, and it's simply sliding through without much hubbub. I just think it's unbelievable. By the way, I'm going to be putting on my new scooter rack later today.
Well, that is big news.
It is. Man, we've actually gotten out on our scooters a little bit this summer.
Yeah, we have.
Like I said, we just finished that big, huge ride, 31 bars in several days.
540 miles.
540. Yeah, it was great.
But before that, we had our warm-up.
Yeah, we did. And we went to a bar we'd never been to before called the Exchange, even though it's, they claim, the oldest continuously running bar in the state of Washington.
What's this wee shit?
You weren't there. You know what you said? You were actually kind of cold and rude. I'm busy. I can't go. It's a Monday.
I had to work.
Right.
I had to make some money for the company.
Yeah, but you don't have to work on Friday mornings when you golf.
Well, that's way more important.
Yeah. So we found our way out there to the south end of Spanaway Lake, I believe.
We meaning myself, you, and Brother Bob.
Bobby Chong. And we saw the place from the outside and were charmed immediately because it was like an old railroad depot or something, right?
It's a hidden oasis in a pile of just kind of a shitty neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's
probably not shitty to the people that live there, but
Parkland is not paradise.
Well, if you watch an episode of Cops,
yeah, you've seen Parkland.
You'll get a good idea. However, they were really nice people, and this classic old bar, and it had a bullet hole in the ceiling.
From like the late 1800s.
1800s, yeah. So if you get out to that area, or if you're just from Western Washington, you really should get down there.
It's a true hidden gem.
Our friend Peter Andrzejewski also likes it and has written about it on his blog, seattlebars.org.
Well, and I grew up in Graham, which is God's country, near Parkland in Spanaway area. Went to high school in that area and never knew it existed.
Nor did I. Yeah,
that's saying something if you don't know it existed. In your own county.
I know, it's amazing, and we liked it. I mean, it was
Loved
like, oh
it.
my God, why haven't we not been here?
You walk in there and you're thinking, it's
and
cowboy boots.
I heard they had a cheeseburger / corn dog deal too.
Oh, the prices are from the 1800s.
Yeah, and they have
phenomenal.
They have the menu that you stick on the letters on the white letters on
like
the black
the
background.
1970s.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then just a week or two ago, we took a nice Sunday ride with you brought your wife.
What's this wee shit?
And you weren't there.
Yeah.
But I went, and Lizard and your wife Maddie and Bobby Chong and his wife Teresa, we all went out we took a ride to several places.
Right.
But we ended up at Magoo's Annex.
Kind of just wandering. I don't think that was the plan, right?
No, actually, we were going by because I get my hair cut. It's in this little business district,
right.
Cool little business district in North Tacoma.
Haircut,
and
ears waxed.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And I think I was trying to get us out to Proctor.
Yeah, we were heading out there, and it was a good thing we stopped because that place in Proctor was closed.
Yeah.
So we went in and sat down, and we've been there before. We did an interview there before with Merrill, the guy on the single wheel.
That was you and I, yes.
Yeah, I wasn't
electric
there,
single wheel.
Yep.
He's
all choked up. I tell you, these single wheelers are very emotional.
So we met the owner, Carl Chalker, and he was telling us a little bit about the place and a little bit about how it was haunted. And we'd had some experience there. He's owned it for 20 years, and it's very similar to a bar that we used to own, a partner and I did, in Fremont in Seattle.
What's this?
In fact, the layout was the same. I just don't like to say I didn't own it. I had a partner, so
you were in the Navy. You didn't say I.
Okay.
Aye, aye, Captain.
So let's take a moment, and I sat down with Carl, and we talked about the bar, Magoo's Annex in Tacoma. So I'm sitting with Carl Chalker.
Correct.
You are the owner of Magoo's Annex here in Tacoma.
That is also correct.
21st Avenue, in a very cool little business district in this area. And before we get into the fact that this is a haunted bar, a haunted pub, you also have been around for a while. You've had this place a while. Can you tell us a little about Magoo's?
Yeah, well, Magoo's began a tavern in 1943, and it's the oldest Irish pub in Tacoma. And I've owned it for almost 20 years. So I've owned it longer than any previous owner.
Wow.
And I became aware of unusual activity here within the first 18 months of ownership.
And was that something that you talked about when you purchased it? Was there any mention that it might have some activity?
I don't think so. The person that I purchased it from had refurbished it from a fire and only owned it for about 3 years, and he was seldom here. And so I imagine some of the bartenders may have noticed something, but not to my knowledge.
And your crowd that you get here, are you pretty much a college crowd that you get, UPS, or?
We get blue and white collar people of all persuasions, as well as a lot of college students. It's a really nice mix of demographics.
Good. And you're obviously very involved, because I've seen you here almost every time I've been in.
Yes, almost every day.
Yeah, but we haven't really had a chance to speak before, so pretty excited about that. If you wanted to describe your atmosphere and setting in a 2-sentence description, how would you do it about Magoo's Annex?
It has a patina of antiquity with a lot of antique art on walls and so forth, but it's technologically very advanced, state-of-the-art equipment throughout that's largely invisible.
That's great. Well, it's a very cool bar.
Well, thank you.
We enjoyed riding our scooters here. In fact, we swung in yesterday with a group ride, and we got to connect and make this appointment today. In fact, I posted our picture on Instagram, and it's had even had somebody say, "Great, looking forward to hearing it."
So, good.
So tell us, what started out? What was the first activity that caught your attention?
Well, if I were standing down at the open end of the bar here behind us, and I was leaning against the bar, sort of facing the opposite wall, and if there was an opening bartender there that I was speaking with, you would catch out of the corner of your eye a shadowy figure moving from directly behind where you are now to your right, where the women's room door is. So basically from the foosball table to the women's room door, would just pass silently by in a matter of a couple of seconds, I would guess. And this was noticed periodically by janitors and opening bartenders myself for many years. And we assumed, there's something, yeah. It didn't amount to anything. And I didn't think about it very much. Occasionally the front door will also swing open and shut by itself.
And that door's it's a hinge door to go both directions.
Right. It's spring loaded and it's very heavy.
It is heavy, yeah.
And so it doesn't move easily. If a large truck passes by and it's a windy day, it might open a couple inches from the wind passing by. But it would swing all the way open and then swing shut in either direction.
Wow.
So that was the other tell. And that went on for years. But this last year I started paying more attention to it. And the more attention I paid to whatever this was, the more it tried to get my attention. And the activity increased, and it increased a great deal. And after a while, it became very problematic.
Oh.
Because small items that were left here or there that couldn't possibly have been touched or moved by anyone would vanish. We had a staff meeting here one afternoon where the doors were locked because we weren't open, and I left my keys on the bar, and no one left and no one came. And I went upstairs, came back downstairs a couple of times. We were doing some work on the roof, and suddenly the keys were gone, and everyone was still here, and 3 or 4 people had seen them, and all of us scoured the building, top to bottom, and those keys have never turned up.
Oh my.
I had to get an entire set of new keys duplicated. More interestingly, I put pay envelopes for our janitorial staff and our bar log behind the bar in a notebook. And one day they just went missing. And we don't have any thieves on the staff. And they had $310 in them combined. And so I was, obviously quite concerned. And again, I searched and searched and searched. It was a lot of money. And I thought perhaps they were inadvertently mailed by someone. So I checked the dead letter office at the main Tacoma branch, and they weren't there. And eventually I just, repaid these people anyway. And then about 2 weeks later, I was upstairs copying some things on the printer in my office upstairs. And there's a large desk, and I was using that space, that's where the printer is, to make these copies. It's an empty desk otherwise. I left for the evening around 10, and no one had any reason to go up there since. And security cameras showed that no one had come and gone up the stairwell. When I came back the next day, the 2 envelopes were laying directly in the center of that desk with all the money in them.
Oh my gosh.
Now, the only person that would have been up there prior to myself was one of the janitors who would have seen the envelope with his name on it.
Oh, man.
So it wasn't there when he was here, but 4 hours later when I arrived, there they were.
You had a spirit return the money.
Yes.
Now just the keys.
Yeah, the keys never returned. I also had a phone charging block and a cord that disappeared for quite a while. And then one day it mysteriously turned up right in front of the cash register, which is the first thing I walk to when I get here in order to run the Z to do the books. And there they were. You can't even open the register if they were sitting where they were. So they couldn't have been there the night before.
So these are the fun little things that have happened that got your attention. Have you had anything move even further than that? You saw the shadow. You think you know who that might be?
Yes. Well, I assumed it was a young woman or a young college student because it was a small figure. A portion of the upper bar that you and I are sitting in right now was an apartment prior to the expansion of this building. And UPS students and employees would use this area, and where the women's room is where the bedroom was. And so I thought, okay, this spirit is probably some college kid that passed away here at the bar and is going to their bedroom. As all this was going on, I got an app from my phone to check for voices electronically, and we were having a Christmas party here for the staff and customers one night. I was upstairs with the same janitor who didn't find his envelope, and his girlfriend and my wife, and we were standing up there, and there's a flat roof up top, and we had a big inflated snowman out there for decor, and it was coming loose from its guy lines. So my friend's girlfriend and I went out there to readjust it. It was being anchored by a 5-gallon bucket that had a 6-barrel empty keg in it to anchor it down, but it had shifted, so it was falling over. So I rearranged it, put it back, and she asked me, why don't you just fill the bucket with water? And I said, well, I could, but this keg works pretty well, and the only way I can get water up here is by using a beer pitcher underneath the washing machine to fill it, but it doesn't really need it anyway. So we stepped back inside right where the washing machine was, and my wife and my friend were there, and the ladies came back down the stairs, and we were still standing there. At that moment, my friend was facing me and I was facing him. His back was to the washer and dryer. Above the washer and dryer, there's a shelf with carpeting on it, and on that shelf, for years, have stood these filtered cups that are part of the liquor distribution system. They suddenly flew off the shelf, completely clearing the washer and dryer and landing on the floor in full view. At that moment, I turned on my cell phone and used the app for the first time, and I said, hello, what's your name? What is there something I can do for you? What are you trying to say? And it said water. Now this was the source of the water to fill the bucket, right above the washing machine where these things fell off.
Wow.
And I said, oh, well, that's interesting. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me? At this moment, I'm reaching behind my back to close my office door, which I do, and it says lock. And I check, and sure enough, I had not locked the door. So I locked the door and closed the door.
Kind of helpful one.
Yes. And then And then my friend proceeded to go down the stairs, and I said, is there anything else you can tell me? Is there anything you'd like to know? Were you a student here? Were you depressed? I can't imagine there had been a violent attack here, or it would be historically noteworthy. Was there something wrong? Did you commit suicide? People here are always so happy. And at this point, I'd come around, and I was walking down the stairwell to our side, and I said, was something wrong at school? And it said, held back.
Wow.
And I said, oh, so were you flunking out of classes and perhaps you'd lost a scholarship or your parents were unwilling to pay the high tuition once again? And I said, but now I have to go down and rejoin my friends. Is there anything else I can do? And it said, listen. I said, I will listen, but just not right now. And then I came on down the stairs, and that was the first episode I had with my phone.
And that's happened since?
Yes, a few other times where sometimes it seems as though it's almost just a random word generator. But at other times, it is so spot on and so it cannot be coincidental.
Right, it's answering.
Yeah.
Well, I was sitting here, I had mine on before you were able to break away and sit down with me. And I was sitting with my head in my hands. I was doing some thinking, and the word generator came up with concentrate. Right on there. So whoever it is, I think was seeing me sitting here with my head in my hands, as though it was kind of funny. So that just happened to me. Now you use a name. There's a name that you're using for the first.
Yes. The very first time I asked if the person had a name, it said Elizabeth. And then later it said Madison. And I said, is it Elizabeth or Madison? And I said, or are you Elizabeth from Madison, Wisconsin? Or do you live on Madison Street up the road? It didn't respond to that at all. Subsequently, I had a team of psychics come in to investigate the building. And they determined that prior to this upper area being an apartment, there had been a house back there, a fact of which I was aware, but they could not have known. Right. And sure enough, it was a brothel, and there was a young prostitute who was shot at the front door when this place was a grocery store in probably 1918 or so, who fled through the back door and was shot in the leg, and then ran upstairs to find her infant child.
Would have been over on this side.
The front door would have been approximately where this door is. Now, she subsequently died of the gunshot wounds. But they immediately determined that she had been shot at the front door, and they said her name was Elizabeth.
Wow.
Information I had not shared with them.
Right.
So, and they did a walkthrough of the building and discovered a remarkably bunch of interesting things, which I have a psychic report of that I'd like to give you a copy of before you leave.
I love it.
And then you can read it and perhaps augment this interview with some of that information.
Yeah. Great. So, is there anything else you want to share with us that may have happened or happened to you? Or
this is all
stories.
Yeah, since Christmas there's been, the psychics determined that apparently the specter going between the foosball table and the door, because we haven't seen it since, was the suicidal college kid whose name began with a G. It was either Gary or George. We were shut down the day before St. Patrick's Day today, and we were going to have a psychic fair. And there's a man named Richard Wiley who wrote a book called Tacoma Tales, and he was a bartender here in the late 60s and very early 70s. And it starts out on St. Patrick's Day in here. So we were going to have a book signing, and we were going to have a psychic fair. And I really wanted these people to meet one another, because he could have determined if he knew a fellow by that name at that time. Interestingly, Orson Welles' daughter worked here as a bartender at that time, and she just recently passed away about 5 years ago. She never left Tacoma.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So James Garner's daughter went to school here too, not the actress, but and so they would come in for commencement, and they both did. And when James Garner was here, apparently he draped a bar towel over his arm and played maitre d' at the front door, for which I certainly wish I had a photograph, but unfortunately I haven't been able to find one.
Well, it's a really cool bar, and if you check it out, it's in the heart of the north end of Tacoma.
Yes.
On 21st Avenue, heading
Or
toward
21st Street.
21st Street.
And the full name is Magoo's Annex. And if you do a YouTube search of that, the first thing that will come up is a 2-minute interview for King 5's 5-star bars that was aired last August. And in it, you can get a good look at the place. And you can see what I look like because I'm interviewed out on the sidewalk for a few seconds.
You, if they go on our Instagram channel, we also have a photograph of you and I together.
Yes.
So, and you're open 7 days a week?
7 days a week, 365 days a year, we never close.
That's great.
Even during holidays.
All right, Carl, Magoo's Annex, thank you very much.
You bet, thank you.
That was my talk with Carl Chalker.
Wish I was there.
I didn't know the Orson Welles' daughter lived in Tacoma her whole life.
Pretty cool.
What brought her out here is my question.
Well, it's a lovely place.
Well, that could be. It's quite a draw. Carl's got the absolute perfect voice that you want for a bartender or an owner of a bar.
Yeah, he's a pro.
Yeah, he it was very nice of him. They let me in before they opened. We sat down and they were getting the place ready, and he and I sat there in the haunted area of the bar.
You found yourself inside a bar before it's open on a handful of occasions,
or after it closed.
Even more dangerous.
So we talked for a few minutes when we got done, and all of a sudden he said, "I have another kind of weird story. It was about a time slip." And so I said, "Hey, before you just tell me the whole story, let me record it."
But wait, there's more?
Well, I thought it might be worth it. So here's Carl's time slip story. It has nothing to do with the bar, but he's connected. He's got a Reddit page. He's got all kinds of stuff, and he feels it. I mean, I love that. So,
before we listen to that, here's my observation of Carl.
Be careful. He's going to listen.
No. I agree with Coach that he's got a great voice. And this is not directed at Carl, but I think in a lot of bars, a lot of shit happens between the foosball table and the women's bathroom.
Good point.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I hung out at Goldie's on 45th in Seattle. That would have all
Carl,
foosball tables.
If we're not invited to the next Christmas party, motherfucker, we're pissed, right?
Yeah, we're going to be, and we want to go up on the roof.
And thirdly, we are a team of psychics for hire as well.
Yes, we are. I was a psychic on our last ride.
And pretty cheap. Pretty cheap.
So here's Carl's time slip story.
Well, many years ago, I started cleaning and sweeping up a machine shop that built tools. It was a tool making shop that built injection molds, which is extremely complex machining. And but I was a quick study, and within about 6 years, or 4 years actually, I was a partner and had learned to build injection molds. In the first couple of years, I did a lot of running around. I was a gopher, and I would drive up to Auburn and Kent and Renton, where all the industrial supply houses and so forth are, to drop off equipment, to have special processes done, or pick up parts, or just pick up and drop off things. And it would be about a 45-minute drive, or an hour drive, 30 minutes each way, along with all the stops. It would generally take me 2 to 2.5 hours to on the road. So one day I went and did a pretty routine thing, 4 or 5 stops, went and stopped and had a sandwich and came back. And when I got back, my boss and his girlfriend was there, as was another machinist who worked at the shop, said, was everything closed? And I said, no, I got everything done. Here's all the invoices, And he said, well, you were only gone 45 minutes. And sure enough, when I checked my watch, I'd only been gone 45 minutes, which was physically impossible.
This was a 2 to 3 hour round trip.
At least.
Plus the sandwich?
Well, the sandwich was a drive-through.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
wow. I've heard some stories like that.
Yeah. Well, the psychic, I live out near Spanaway Lake, and the north gate of McCord Field is right there. And she told me they was doing this endless road construction project out there, and they excavated this hole. And she told me they had exposed a time portal out there, and that if you're driving down Spanaway Loop Road and then down 112th Street to get to Lakewood, people have gone through there, and perhaps they're running a little late. They're trying to get to Lakewood by 2, and they left at 3, and they're running a little bit late. And by the time they get to South Tacoma Way, which is about a quarter mile up the road, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon in a matter of a quarter mile.
So it goes backwards.
Yeah, they save time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took less time than when they started.
That's wild.
She also told me further on up the road, there's a curve that I drive past every day where there's an old basement that looks like it's a semi-elevated or exposed foundation of a basement of an old house. It looks like a bunker. 37 times one year, the police were called because there were these wrecks. And what would happen is a car would be driving along. It's a four-way road. And there'd be a woman standing in the middle of the road. And so they'd slam on the brakes and get rear-ended by the person behind him. This happened 37 times in 1 year. So they finally contacted her. The police did. And she went out there and cleared the place and determined it was coming from this bungalow. And after that, never a problem. She is phenomenal. Her name is Teresa Carroll, and she is phenomenal.
All right.
If she shakes your hand, she could tell you more about you than is humanly possible.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet her.
Teresa Carroll, yes. And I've got her information as well as her report.
Oh, that's great.
And she brought 4 sightings with her, and they all walked through and compared notes with a lot of overlap.
Yeah, walked in cold, didn't have any previous knowledge, and just went through it. That's great. Well, thanks again.
Absolutely.
Nice. So there you go.
Bonus.
Time travel, ghosts, bars, scooters.
Yeah.
Carl's got it all.
I love
fucking
Carl.
wonderful.
Yeah.
What about the fact that he said he lived on Spanaway Lake and we had talked about the Exchange prior to that on a different trip in the very same neighborhood? I think it's synchronicity, or is it coincidence? I don't know.
It could be coinkydink, but if you see him again, we'll have to ask him about if he's been to the Exchange.
I've got the file with his paranormal report in it, and he covered most of it in his conversation, but it's pretty interesting, and they've got stuff going on.
He's got some good information.
He does, and he has a great little bar, so if you're in Tacoma, go to Magoo's.
We will be back for sure.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm going to get you,
open
Carl.
every day.
So
all year.
on Christmas
That's
Day,
impressive.
Except for the COVID closing. Well, I think that just about wraps us up, guys, for our return after the negative review of our podcast.
That can only mean one thing, back to reality.
Yeah, no, not really. You're a teacher. Are you doing remote learning again?
We will be,
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
You going to be okay?
I'll find a way.
I'd like to figure out a way to do remote managing. But
Well, you do half the time you're at home. You're doing work anyway.
Easy. I'm working every day. Thanks, you guys, for taking the trip to be down here in the garage and recording this.
I miss Sunday Mass for this.
A garage/studio
/bar /COVID haven.
All the things that it is. I'd like to thank our listeners for listening.
Except for that one guy.
He won't be
fuck him.
listening, apparently. I sent him a nice note back, right? So he sent this really hateful, mean, awful, terrible review. Hurt my feelings, took me out. And so I sent him this note back, and I just said, hey, thank you for the feedback.
How can you be so devastated, so crushed, and so nice on your response?
Then I said, and thanks for giving us a try. You know what he did? He liked my comment.
You know what? You're a pro, because that was the right response. That was the right way to handle it.
I know. But darn it, if you could just make up for that, that would be nice. If somebody could just do a nice review.
Please, for Coach and mine's sake, please.
God help us.
Hey, thanks to Weeknights for the original music and our crew here. Bobby Chong, who decided to ride on a scooter.
Fuck you, Bobby.
Fuck you, Bobby Chong. In the garage, and for giving up your day to make this fun little passion project. Yeah.
Possible.
Yeah. Until then, stay safe out there. A mask up, glove up, and keep your head on a swivel.
And rubber up.
Yeah, the rubber side down and ride. Copyright 2020 by Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars.